Hey everyone, today is April 9th, 2025, and we're going to be doing a walk down Wall Street, currently on the corner of William Street here. And we're going to be turning back and going to the New York Stock Exchange. Now, in the distance here, you can see the very famous Trinity Church, and to the left on Broad Street, you can see the New York Stock Exchange. Now, a lot of things have changed down here since I've worked down here. I used to work at 82 Wall Street, which has now been turned into a hotel. And a lot of these businesses, or a lot of these buildings now, are really not of financial use. Not a lot of banks down here anymore, not a lot of broker dealers. They've been turned into apartments. This is a Tiffany jewelry store. And even 82 Wall Street, which is just down here, used to be the German investment bank called Deutsche Bank. They have now left and vacated Wall Street, and they are now at Columbus Circle taking over the old Time Warner Center. Now, being that today is April 9th, one of the biggest pieces of news we have going on right now is the trade war, or the tariff battle between really the United States and the rest of the world. So you have a lot of TV producers, have a lot of media set up down here, I guess, taking content and reporting on the tariff war. Now, I would like to note just one thing, not to get too into the finance and tech stuff, but whenever you kind of see this stuff down here, I'll kind of zoom in on all of it, all this camera equipment, all the news people. I mean, you have the Financial Times down here, you have CNBC down here, you have Fortune, you have Bloomberg, I think that's Forbes kind of doing interviews here. Obviously, the market has been in decline over the last 5 days, but this is very, very, very reminiscent of kind of activity around market bottoms, particularly just on a sentiment basis. I mean, you never really have these newscasters setting up all these cameras, to do, interviews and videos at the stock exchange. I mean, not even a lot of trading activity happens down here anymore. It's pretty much just like a TV studio, but it is a beautiful and historic place. So I just wanted to come down here and document this from a market sentiment point of view. Right now, that doesn't mean the market can't go lower, but over the last 2 days, I personally have been deploying a lot of capital into the market, especially as the markets have been limit down. I just think there's a lot of eyes on the U.S. equity market right now. There's a lot of tit-for-tat, let's say, anger surrounding the tariffs. A lot of bickering amongst Democrats and Republicans. A lot of people calling for doom and gloom, and that is very reminiscent of a market bottom. I mean, we had the VIX, which is the CBOE volatility index, hit close to COVID levels. I mean, you're talking about a 60 handle on the VIX. You have the put to call ratio going to Mars. So again, this is, I would say, it's more close to a bottom, or at least a temporary bottom than not. You have some major hedge fund managers such as Bill Ackman and the like kind of coming out on Twitter or X and really panicking, kind of freaking out and, throwing accusations against each other. And, it's important as a market participant, right? We're in the money business. Our job is to, make our money more money. And I think it's very important to take our own political biases out of it, right? Doesn't matter if you are a Trump supporter, doesn't matter if you love Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, doesn't matter. That's all well and good. But you got to go with the market, right? You got to go with the market. You got to pay attention to those key bottoming signals. And you cannot let your political biases cloud your investment decisions. I would highly suggest to read a book. It's called Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. It's based on the life of Jesse Livermore. And there's a lot of chapters in that book that are very reminiscent on this exact market environment that we have going on right now. I mean, we have record levels of short selling, essentially firms on Wall Street betting against the market. That is a pressure cooker for upside volatility or upside risk. Anyway, just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on that. And let's kind of explore Wall Street. Right here we have the Fearless Girl, which is one of my favorite kind of statues or monuments really in all of New York City. Now, the Fearless Girl used to be right outside of the Bull, which is on Wall Street, but they moved her to be right in front of the Exchange, which I think is actually a better place for her. I think it's kind of cool, like she's looking up at the Exchange. You have all these American flags here. It's a very interesting experience right here on Broad Street. Seems to be a lot of tourists out too. Lots of people going on field trips and the like, which is good to see. Now, one thing I'll note, and we kind of noted this before, but you know, when most people think about Wall Street, Broad Street, and Lower Manhattan, you know, the financial district, they think of, you know, a lot of the financial activity, like the investment banking, the sales and trading, and the like. But ever since the internet and the introduction of algorithmic trading, most of those firms have actually moved to Midtown Manhattan, right? There's a lot of firms near Times Square. If you look at 42nd Street and Avenue of the Americas, which is right across the street from Bryant Park, you have Bank of America Tower. If you go to Park Avenue, you have some of the major investment banks and hedge funds, like big market makers like Citadel, Hudson Yards, you have D.E. Shaw. So a lot of those firms have actually migrated uptown, Midtown Manhattan, Park Avenue, Hudson Yards. And that's mainly because you really don't need to be crowded down here, right? There was a time where you were trading with physical pieces of paper, and the broker-dealers needed to be right on top of one another. Now, with all of these Class A office towers and these Class A office buildings, you know, big Wall Street firms, not only the investment banks and the hedge funds, but private equity like Carlyle, Blackstone, and many others are in really posh and luxury office towers, right? High ceilings, great amenities. So if you know you're making that much money and you want to attract great talent, highly unlikely that you're probably going to stick them into a pre-war office with fluorescent lighting and, you know, 9-foot ceiling heights, right? To the left, we have Lehman Manhattan. This is a really expensive prep school here. I want to go down to Beaver Street and make a right so we could check out the Bull, the mighty Bull. Another interesting thing about Lower Manhattan, if you look at this right here, it says Studio 3 bedrooms now leasing. This is 55 Broad Street. This used to be an office building. And down here in Lower Manhattan is the highest concentration of office to residential apartment conversions in the city. And that's really due to the zoning. You even have some more projects coming up as well. There's a few big ones on Water Street. And this kind of goes with the trend that we were talking about. You know, offices, or I should say, big businesses, big corporations and companies moving out of Lower Manhattan, creating a massive wave or explosion of vacancy here in the office space. And with high vacancy, you need to come up with solutions for that. So a lot of developers, even a lot of private equity firms, real estate development companies have been launching these condo and residential conversion projects. Although, what many people also don't know is that more often than not, it's actually more expensive to try to convert an office tower into residential, right? It's called the deal not penciling, and oftentimes they don't pencil, but here in Lower Manhattan, the zoning is really conducive for that. But in most parts of the city, It's not. And it's a very expensive process to do because the floor plates just don't match up well with a residential floor plan, right? Kind of can feel awkward, can feel a little bit too boxy. If you've ever been in any of these office to apartment conversions down here in Lower Manhattan, the floor plans are a little weird. And it's almost like living in an office, right? 95 Wall Street is probably my number one example of that, which is a luxury apartment building on the corner of Wall Street and Water Street. And when you go in there, if you look it up on Street Easy, you could see some of the floor plans. It's a little awkward, and it kind of makes you feel like you're living in an apartment, but at least it's a solution to get more housing to New York City, because we are in a housing crisis. So at least those are good solutions to try to bring more affordable housing to people in New York. And I think that's the goal, right? More housing, more affordable housing in New York City. This is now the corner of Broadway and Beaver Street. It's a little windy out today, so I may want to plug in the microphone here in a minute. But I'm very curious to see the tourist activity on the Bowl today. Wow, look at all these tourists. This is great. Especially now that we finally have a sunny day in New York. This is probably like 100 people on the intersection of Broadway, checking out the beautiful Mighty Bowl. Wow, and the park looks great too. We have some of the flowers starting to bloom. Some of the leaves are coming in on the trees. Over the past 3 days here in the city, it's been really miserable weather. It's just been horrible. This park is called Bowling Green Park. Now, if you're visiting New York City in the summer, I would highly suggest to come down here to Battery Park City, because they're redoing it and they're putting so many new additions to it. It's going to be brand new landscaping, all new sidewalk. I think they're going to make a dedicated bike lane too that connects back to the World Trade Center. So as the weather gets nicer out, this is going to be really, really awesome down here. One of my favorite things to do in the summer in Manhattan is go to the Hudson River on 34th Street, rent a city bike, and ride the bike all the way down to the World Trade Center. It has some of the most amazing views in the city. And you have this beautiful view of the Trade Center as you're going down. This is one of my favorite things. Now, the Fearless Girl used to be right in front of the Mighty Bowl, which is pretty cool. Let's take a walk through Bowling Green Park. And then we'll head out and back around and check out One Wall Street. All right, Bowling Green Park from the hours of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Oh my gosh, I haven't been in this park when it was nice out in forever. It's always windy and cloudy and rainy. This is the Bowling Green subway stop where you can get the 4 and the 5 trains. So if you want to come here and you are at 42nd Street, let's say you're at Times Square, you could take the shuttle to Grand Central Station and you could just jump on the 4 or the 5 and take it all the way to Bowling Green. Seems like a pretty cool field trip here. All right, let's make a left on Broadway and we'll go all the way back up to Wall Street. Beautiful architecture on the buildings down here, though. I mean, look at that. They look beautiful from the outside, but I will say one thing. After being in a lot of these new developments, particularly in Midtown Manhattan, with the tremendous floor-to-ceiling glass windows, 12-foot ceilings, 13-foot ceilings, floor-to-ceiling glass. It makes a lot of the brick-and-mortar and pre-war buildings seem extremely, extremely dark by comparison. So when I think about living there, right, or if I'm going to buy something, it just makes it feel very dark. And maybe that's a perception thing, right? Because if you're in a really tall skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan, the apartment has 11 to 12-foot ceilings, but you have floor-to-ceiling frontage. And then you go into a building like this, and you have these teeny windows, the place is going to feel like a dungeon. It's an interesting perspective that has kind of evolved on me over the years. place is really good. Liberty Bagel. They have a spot right near the GM building, 59th Street. I think it's technically on 58th Street, but... Okay, we are now going to hit right into Trinity Church, which is another beautiful building here in Lower Manhattan that sits right at the end of Wall Street. I think this used to be King's College. Let me see, I'm actually curious about this. Yeah, wow, it's not here anymore. If I remember correctly, this used to be the main entrance of King's College. Maybe that closed down too. This is the retail space at 1 Wall Street. You also have a Whole Foods in here, which is pretty convenient if you live inside 1 Wall Street. You have a Whole Foods just off to the left. 1 Wall Street was the city's largest office to condo conversion. And the developer on the deal is Harry Mackello, who is responsible for 432 Park Avenue. Wow, look at how great Trinity Church looks. It's also pretty convenient that you have the Wall Street subway station right here too. You can get the 4 and the 5 train uptown or downtown. So we're walking past the main entrance to the Whole Foods, and this is the Wall Street station. And here is the front of 1 Wall Street, Harry Mackello's project. This used to be the headquarters of the Irving Trust Company Bank in 1929 and 1931. Beautiful Art Deco building, 654-foot limestone-clad tower. And then, of course, right as you exit, you have these great views of Trinity Church and the spire of the World Trade Center. Okay. This is a beautiful view of the main entrance of Trinity Church. And And now we'll make a right on Wall Street and walk directly down the side of the New York Stock Exchange. Here you can see a little bit of a better view of One Wall Street. Beautiful Art Deco building. The pool in here is really amazing. You're overlooking the Statue of Liberty right as you're swimming. It's pretty amazing. And right here on the corner of New Street and Wall Street is the back entrance to the New York Stock Exchange. Now you'll notice these big kind of metal fences around the stock exchange. This all happened after 9/11. Prior to September 11, 2001, you were able to walk straight up to the doors of the New York Stock Exchange and even go in. Now you're not even allowed to go in or walk right next to the building anymore. You have big security boxes all around. You have another security checkpoint here. And then we'll continue to head down and we'll check out Federal Hall. So where all this group of kids are walking, you could see the main George Washington statue. And this is where the first president of the United States was inaugurated, right here in Lower Manhattan. And Federal Hall is undergoing renovations for the next 8 years. So you're going to have that scaffolding around there for 8 more years. The total duration of the renovation was 10. We're about 3 years into it, or 2.5 years into it. I think one of the coolest things about the New York Stock Exchange is the original Buttonwood Agreement is in that building. So if you ever get the chance to go there, you could ask them to see the original Buttonwood document. This is going to be the corner of Broad Street, or really the corner of Broad and Nassau Street. If you go down Nassau, you're going to have more big office towers, as well as the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. But check that out. This is now Federal Hall. It's such a beautiful building. It's so unique. I'm glad they're doing this restoration here, but it is a little bit of a bummer that it is going to be under scaffolding. I used to sit on the steps of Federal Hall and have lunch back in the day. This is the main entrance of the NYSE, and you have the ticker tape going across. And I love these big Roman columns with the American flags. And you see Federal Hall. Good old George Washington there. Still all the TV cameras around, lots of media covering the tariff trade war. Usually there's never any media that are outside the exchange. Like we kind of mentioned before, This is very reminiscent of a bottom signal in the market, and you have all the media kind of freaking out and putting out articles and stuff. But it is cool to see. I think this is my favorite shot here. Like, look at how perfectly centered the Trinity Church is between the New York Stock Exchange and 2 Wall Street. That is such an awesome shot. We'll get one more picture of the front of the New York Stock Exchange, and then we will head down Wall Street all the way to Water Street. All right, now I'm going to adjust the brightness here, and if I zoom in, you're going to see this massive tower sticking up all the way in the distance. That is the Brooklyn Tower, so you could actually see downtown Brooklyn from here, which is pretty interesting. It's a unique view. You could also see Brooklyn Heights and get yourself all the way to the South Street Seaport. This is 30 Wall Street, and then you have the Trump building right here. Oh, this looks new. I've never seen this before. Nero Lab Italian food. Looks like a nice cafe. Wow, this is all brand new. None of this was here when I was working down here. Looks great. And this is 40 Wall, the Trump building. If you go all the way to the back, there used to be a Dwayne Reed here. I think it closed down. Actually, I don't know about that. It may still be open, but I remember reading that it closed down. A lot of stuff down here is closing down. While we're down here, let's go ahead and check out the progress on the construction at the old Deutsche Bank, which is 60 Wall Street. I remember when I worked down here, you would always see the bankers at Deutsche Bank running around, getting coffee, getting lunch. And now it kind of, ever since Deutsche left, Wall Street really kind of feels hollowed out, particularly as you're talking about office workers.
That's where he rode, and it wasn't his fault.
But the buildings are stunning here. I mean, you can't say it's not. 53 Wall Street, Cipriani. I hope they never alter the facades. Well, many of these buildings they can't, but I think you get the point. This is the Bank of New York, founded in 1780 or 1784. I think there's also a museum in here. All right, now we're going to walk under all this scaffolding. This used to be the main entrance of the Deutsche Bank. Wow, it looks like they even closed down the atrium. This looks so different from when I was here. There's not even a little window we could look through to check out the progress.
Yeah. He was under the impression that we didn't use pro face on the fit.
This is an awesome coffee shop here, by the way. La Colombe. I love this place. I used to go here almost every day. Okay, now you're going to see my old office on the corner of Wall Street and Pearl Street, which is now a hotel, and a very nice hotel, by the way. This is like a very nice hotel. This is the Wall Street Hotel, and even the facade of the building is gorgeous. Look at that. And right here, this is where the original Buttonwood Agreement was signed. I never even really noticed it before, and I used to work in this building. In 1792, right where you're standing, the Buttonwood Agreement was officially signed and executed, establishing the first ever New York Stock Exchange. At the time, the coffee house stood on this site and served as its first official home. Pretty cool. And now on the inside you have a really nice bar and lounge. At night, this is like a really great cocktail bar. You don't even have to stay at the hotel in order to go. But yeah, this used to be my office.
Yeah, I put the bag in the car.
Yeah, I go to bed.
And the lobby looks just really nice. It's also another like oyster bar restaurant here. So earlier in the video, we were talking about office to residential apartment conversions, and I mentioned this building, 95 Wall Street. Now, from the street level looking up, it does look like an office building, right? But it's not. It's residential apartments for rent. And if you've ever been in one, it's, I don't know, it's nice, but it really feels like you're living in an office. It's just my observation, but and now we are on Water Street. So if we were to make a right on Water Street, this will take us all the way down to the Staten Island Ferry, or the last stop on the 1 train, which is South Ferry. But if we were to go this way, this will run us into Pace University, as well as the on-ramp to the Brooklyn Bridge. You could really feel the wind coming off the water now. It's insane. I'll have to put in the microphone in a minute. Okay, we are now almost at the end of Wall Street. Look at how cool that view is. This is overlooking Brooklyn Heights, as well as downtown Brooklyn. Amazing views. And then here, you can see the Brooklyn Bridge. Wow, look at that. And we have a beautiful view overlooking Dumbo, Brooklyn as well. You can see the best-selling condo in Brooklyn, Olympia Dumbo, that overlooks the Brooklyn Bridge. It's a beagle. And right under the highway is Industry Kitchen. This is a nice place to come to eat when the weather's nice out. It has beautiful outdoor dining overlooking the water. You could sit right here, overlook the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. If you guys enjoyed that walking tour of Wall Street and Lower Manhattan, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button for more New York City walking tours, and we will see you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.